Hello guys and welcome back to the Motor Recon podcast. I'm your host Adam, joined again today by Rob. We're going to just briefly discuss the Le Mans 66 film. We've just come back from the cinema, we've just seen it. What did you think of the film overall?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was and I think if you're a petrolhead, it's probably worth a watch. As in, it's a decent film. And if anybody isn't familiar with the Ford GT40 story, I think it's just a nice, light-hearted way to get yourself generally up to speed on it.
Yeah. One thing I will say is don't watch it if you're a history buff, because it'll probably annoy you a little bit on that front.
Yeah.
But they've obviously had to not dramatise it as such, but
no. But you've got to remember, you're condensing years of history down into
a couple of
2.5 hours. And again, it was a long movie. So, as in, I appreciate what they had to do. I don't think it was better than Rush.
No, I don't actually.
I thought Rush was better.
I don't think it was better acted.
No, but that being said, I think the chap who played Niki Lauda in Rush did a spot on.
Yeah.
As in, that Niki Lauda sort of impersonation, if you like, was
it was bang on.
He absolutely nailed it.
I think the reason for that difference, obviously, because in that film they did focus more on the drivers. So I think they went a bit more to town on making it accurate from their point of view, whereas this one was more about the two brands battling out more, so wasn't it? And obviously about Carroll and...
I would say it was... Well, no, it was almost entirely told from Ford's perspective of that battle, though.
Yes, it was.
Ford and Shelby's perspective. Obviously they talk about Ken Miles as well. I won't spoil any of the film for you, but obviously it gives a little bit of a history about him and Lamar. I would say it's probably worth a watch.
Worth a watch as a film.
Yeah, exactly, as a film.
Quite enjoyed it, to be fair. It is long though, so be prepared for
exactly
prepared for that. But it didn't feel long when you were in there.
No.
So good film. So that was a little roundup of that. Pretty good film. Would recommend it. I'm going to get it when it comes out.
As a matter of fact, I quite like my movies, but if anybody wants us to review any more motoring movies, let us know. For example, Steve McQueen's Le Mans from the 70s, we could review that. We could do a full review of Rush, so let us know if there's any movies that you're interested
the reason we're not going into too much detail on this Le Mans 66 is because it's still in the cinema, so likelihood is quite a few people haven't yet seen it.
Exactly.
So I don't really want to obviously spoil it for anybody, so might revisit it in the future.
Exactly, we could come back, maybe rank our favourite motorsport movies at some point. So that's another one.
Excellent. Right, so first thing, I have to thank somebody in the motoring group chat that I'm in on Instagram for this. They sent a rendering in of a Jaguar F-Type sort of shooting brake.
Yep.
Caught my eye straight away, and I forwarded it straight on to you because I thought, well, you're a massive F-Type fan and you love a shooting brake.
I do, yeah.
Combine the two and,
I think it looks spectacular.
It does.
It looks really, really... And we've been on... Obviously, we've got it up on our screen now, and we've seen other renderings, and even by the looks of it, some people have actually made their own.
Yeah, some tuning companies look like they've actually done one, which we'll have to do a bit more digging into, but... God, if Jaguar make this... I think it's pretty confirmed that Jaguar are not going to make one.
Yeah.
But... I would very much like them to give it a whirl.
But this got us thinking generally more onto the shooting brake as a concept and whether we believe it actually has a place in with the sports car / supercar scene these days.
Yeah, I honestly think it does.
I think it's interesting. One of the most famous shooting brakes out there that you can buy at the moment is the Ferrari GTC4 Liuzzo.
Yeah.
Do we both... I like it. Do you like it?
I do. I love the way it looks.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've never driven one, so I can't comment on that. But I think there's been better. I just think at the moment, obviously, the ones that are for sale, that is obviously probably the best in class.
But as you said, and this gets me thinking because obviously you've told me that Ferrari are looking at developing an SUV, aren't they? Much like every other sports car / supercar manufacturer these days. If I wanted a Ferrari with 4 seats so I could bring people along, I would much rather do it in a GTC4 Liuzzo. Because I don't think you're actually losing all that much on the Ferrari experience with it.
Well, you're not. And I do know a few people have driven them. And They do say it's quite exciting, especially if you go for the V12 one rather than the V8 one.
If you go for the V12 one, I get the distinct impression that it would be kind of similar to the 812 Superfast. They're both very low, both very long, both very powerful,
and both very heavy.
Quite heavy.
Yeah, both very heavy.
For sort of GT Ferraris. And I think you wouldn't be able to tell all that much of a difference, as in you're not losing any experience over an 812, but you are gaining 2 seats.
And they have the same interior, so from a driving point of view, if you're just sat there looking forward,
do you know what
the same.
Do you know what I'd really like is if you got the GTC Forliuzzo and you dropped the interior from the Roma into it.
Well, they probably will.
I think genuinely that would very much interest me,
because I think this obviously this is just my own view here, but I think probably one of the first cars they might experiment doing electric with, or a full proper hybrid system, would probably be something like the GT Forliuzzo, because it's got the big long platform to get everything in. Yeah, and update the interior a bit, obviously. And
it's probably, of Ferrari's current lineup, I can see it as the most suitable to get a battery put in there somewhere, maybe underneath the seats of the rear passengers, for example, whatever it might be, or as is quite common these days, on the floor to make a low centre of gravity.
Yeah.
So
the one thing I will criticise it for is, you know, it has 4-wheel drive, obviously.
Yes, but
it's a separate.
Yeah.
They are completely separate front and back wheel, and obviously the front wheel drive only is up to 4th gear or something and a certain speed. Now, Ferrari said that they were doing that because they said a normal front 4-wheel drive system would raise the car too high and make the handling all ski-whiff.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they've ever seen a Nissan GTR. That's a full normal 4-wheel drive system and handles like it's on rails.
That being said, though, if they do have good reasons for that, and if their good reason for it is they want to keep it as low as possible and they want to maybe balance the weight potentially by spreading it out, I would rather they did that, because again, you're preserving that driving experience that you're supposed to get with a Ferrari, something which in a 4x4 is just impossible. Yeah. As good as the Lamborghini Urus is, it won't handle or drive like an Aventador. That's just a fact.
It doesn't have the drama. I think a lot of people, I've seen people who actually do own both, and the Urus will keep up with a Huracan. Mainly on in a straight line, the Huracan does pull away because it's lighter, it's more aerodynamic, and it's more powerful. But on the corners and on like a mountain road or something, it doesn't do that bad, which obviously is just purely down to technology moving on.
Oh yeah, it's through incredible trickery, not... Yeah. The car doesn't naturally lend itself to that. No. It's Lamborghini being very clever.
Yeah, which, credit to them, obviously it has worked a bit. But the only reason, and I kind of get it, it is from a business point of view, that they're saying they have to make these cars because... At the moment, the ones that sell extremely well, and they bring them in enough money to be able to carry on making the cars that collectors or ordinary people might actually want.
I understand that, yeah.
Yeah, so from a business point of view, I get it, but it does somewhat dilute the brand for me.
I think we'll save it for another time as far as the DBX is concerned, because obviously now that's rolling about. I suppose just high-level general impression for that is I actually don't hate it as much as I thought I would. And I think in the right colour, genuinely, I saw one in a really dark blue.
Yeah.
And it actually stood okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I loved it, but it was okay.
But as of the sporty SUVs, it's one of the better-looking ones. I think the only one that would come close to it is the Urus.
Urus looks genuine. I think as far as looks are concerned, not off-roading capability or anything like that, I think the Urus looks the best.
Yeah, because the only other ones really, well, they're not even that sporty, but you've got the Bentayga Speed, which is, the Bentayga is ugly.
It is. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah, it is ugly. Yeah, the Cullinan's not a sporty SUV, so that's out of the picture.
The Cullinan, I can't even.
No, it is hideous.
I can't even.
No. It's better in person than in pictures, I'll give it that, but even still, it's hideous.
No.
Jaguar F-Pace SVR
looks okay to me.
Does look alright,
but again,
and cheap compared to these guys.
But unfortunately, I think the problem with the F-Pace for me is its brother, which is the Range Rover Sport.
Yeah.
And the Range Rover Sport, although probably not quite as sportingly capable as the F-Pace, has one distinct advantage, which is when you show it a muddy field. Actually, I'd say the Range Rover Sport stands out from all these other ones in the fact that the moment the going gets tough, it holds up.
Yeah, which the others generally
struggle to do so.
I mean, tyres are a big thing as well.
Of course they are.
Obviously, that's one of the main things, the one that connects you to the floor. I think the F-Pace actually does have a similar system to the Range Rover, but a tuned slightly version of it, and it's a detuned engine from the Range Rover as well.
If it was my money, I would be going for the Range Rover Sport. Granted, you're losing some of the sporting nature of the F-Pace, probably losing a bit of badge as well, you would argue, in the sporting world, but you're gaining a whole lot more in off-roading capability in an off-roading car.
Yeah, and it still sounds nuts and looks nuts. So
exactly.
I'd go for that. So yeah, the actual original question was, do shooting brakes still have a place? I think for us personally, yes. I think they very much do have a place.
Yeah, I'd be obviously I think the GTC4 is one of the last holdouts of a major shooting brake from a sports car manufacturer, and it would be a shame to see it die out completely.
Yeah, I don't think it will, because it does sell reasonable numbers. A lot of them are Ferrari forcing people to buy them to get other cars. Let's not beat around the bush here. That does happen.
I think it's you know what? I think it's a bit of a niche. I think it's that niche crowd of people that include us too. That, say for example, if we were in the market for a Ferrari, just say that hypothetically, if we were in the market for a Ferrari, but we need to carry around people other than two, we would much rather get ourselves a GTC Foliuzzo than an SUV. And if this Jag F-Pace had 4 seats, we'd probably buy that. So if this Jag F-Type had a shooting brake with 4 seats, we would much rather buy that over an F-Pace. I think that's just the way we're wired.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd also have the F-Type shooting brake over a GTC 4.
It'd probably come in cheaper.
It'd be a hell of a lot cheaper. It'd be a hell of a lot cheaper. It wouldn't even come to half the price, I can guarantee you that. And it looks a lot better.
I don't mind the looks, actually, the GTC Foliuzzo.
No, I don't mind them.
I think from the back it looks spectacular.
Yeah, but look at that.
I know it looks good.
That is, I don't know who's made that. But credit to them, whoever it is, and well done.
Yeah, well done
well
indeed.
Done.
Yeah.
Maybe get Jaguar on it. So, one thing we're just going to move on to now is obviously the Formula 1 season of 2019 has wrapped up. It's finished. It's over now until 2020.
It is.
Obviously, I'm sure a lot of you guys will have watched it or even just tuned in every now and then to see where people stand. So we're just going to look at the constructors' standings and also a little bit of review what we hope to come for next year, really.
Yeah, I think
nice.
It provides a good opportunity for us to round up a year that largely has been quite interesting, actually. It could have been a lot worse, in my opinion.
They've had a lot of interesting races this year, which they didn't have the year before.
Exactly. I'm thinking of Germany. I'm thinking of Brazil. There's been some genuinely good races peppered in there this year.
Even the British Grand Prix weren't that bad this year.
Austria was really good this year. So there have been some excellent races this year, so fair play. And you've got to remember, these are under regulations that currently don't necessarily lend themselves to easy racing, so fair enough.
No, so I think we'll talk through a little bit of it. Obviously, we've got the constructors' numbers up here as well, and obviously we'll let you do a bit of the drivers in between.
Yeah.
So I think obviously everybody knows Mercedes won the Constructors' Champion. It was a full-blown conclusion, 1-2.
Now, obviously, although they won it, and if you look at the points, they won it by some margin, I think this is the first year in Mercedes' dominance since 2014.
It's been challenged.
They've been challenged.
Even Red Bull having a poker.
Exactly. No, they've been challenged this year, and Ferrari, for the first time in a while, challenged at least, especially in the first half of the season, they mounted a genuine assault. I think their strategy has let them down.
As always.
I think the car is better than the strategy they gave it. If they wrapped a good strategy around the car they had a real shot this year.
I don't know half at time what they actually are thinking of, though, because it seems to be they're having an amazing race. They can even be sometimes they're even leading. And then the strategy will be like, pull in, change over
it's either Ferrari's strategy is not so hot or Mercedes' strategy is on the whole incredible. It's one or the other.
One thing with the people I've commented on, which I've seen anyway, just reading little bits from the news, is the Mercedes strategy is a very sort of fluid strategy. It can change at the drop of a hat.
They take opportunities that are that come their way, developments in the races.
Hang on a minute, he's just done a 2 second slower lap. Right, okay, we've got time now. Quickly get him in, change them tyres and get him out, and we've got that time. If they weren't planning on doing it, they'll just do it.
Well, on tracks that theoretically and in qualifying they're not as fast as Ferrari on, we have seen them take advantage of situations such as the weather, whatever it might. And credit to them, they've looked at an opportunity and very quickly decided, right, we can take this. We have a chance,
and they're on top.
So
it's worked.
They've had to work for it. They've definitely had to work for it this year. Obviously, they've had to work for it every year, but this year has been a genuine attack, and they've been able to see it off.
Yeah, they've not always won every race, which is good to see.
I would say the big news is obviously McLaren, obviously coming in as best of the rest behind Red Bull.
Yeah, out of the top 3. That's good. Things like that for me has always been a thing. So it's sad to see McLaren. It was sad to see McLaren not doing very well, and they've also come above Renault, which is who powers McLaren. So it shows they've got either the better drivers or the better chassis.
I might add as well, as far as McLaren is concerned, they didn't just scrape ahead of Renault towards the end of it. You're talking a clear margin over Renault. Obviously, a huge amount of points between McLaren and Red Bull, but also a significant amount of points between Renault and McLaren.
Yeah, they're over 50 points ahead, which
it's a decent chunk.
Yeah, and I think it's well deserved. I think they've had their years of being a bit sort of at the back of the field, losing, things going wrong. Everyone remembers the Honda years, but obviously that's another topic. But I think they've deserved it, and I think they've come back. And also the drivers, I think, are a lot more relatable this time.
They're two solid drivers, and I'm glad that they've both been confirmed for 2020, because I think they've both driven well enough this year that they certainly deserve a future with McLaren.
Oh, 100%.
And I think the team, I think obviously they brought in a chap from Porsche, obviously, who's now, and clearly he's making a big splash there, and it's making a difference. So hopefully in 2020 they can continue this run. I think one thing that is worth noting about this season is that massive gap between the top 3 and obviously the Formula 1.5, as they're calling it. It's a major issue.
It is, and I think this is what will be addressed in. Well, they're trying to address in the new regs coming, obviously, aren't they? But
I mean, there's no shaking it out. Obviously, Red Bull ended out with 417 points over the season, whereas their next rival in 4th, McLaren, got 145. That is gigantic.
It's a gigantic thing. To be fair, even between Red Bull and Ferrari, there's nearly 100 points. Not quite, but there's nearly 100 points in between them. And then again, there's a big gap. Obviously, Mercedes on 739 and Ferrari on 504.
Yeah.
So that's over 200 points ahead.
It's a big issue for F1, especially when you compare it to one of the other single-seater categories, obviously Formula E, for example. Theirs is a lot closer. Obviously, theirs is also far more close to a spec series. It's technically not, because obviously people develop their own engines and gearboxes, but the fact that they don't get free rein over the aero and some of the other parts,
and it makes the difference.
It does. I mean, it keeps and also they use other methods in Formula E which are subtle but work. I think one of the ones I particularly like is, I hear banded around about F1 quite a lot, is why don't we have reverse grids? Make it interesting, so you put Lewis Hamilton at the back or whatever. I don't think for me, I don't feel that's the solution.
No, I don't either.
It's artificial and far too on the nose for me.
And to be fair, they sometimes lap them 2 or 3, 4 times in a race. They are just going to come through.
This is one of the things I quite liked about Formula E's. So they don't have success ballast like BTCC, but a very subtle way of doing it is, depending on how well you did in the previous race, you go out earlier in their qualifying groups. So the qualifying groups of 4 out on the track, and if you do well, you go out in the earlier groups. This means that you're on a track that's much greener, so you struggle to get that advantage. It means that, say for example, if it's a double header, if you win Saturday's race, it's going to be much more difficult for you to secure pole position on Sunday, because you're being forced to go out first in that qualifying group.
Yeah, not getting the rubber down.
And exactly. Whereas the guys who struggled on the previous race are getting the opportunity to go out at the end of qualifying, where the rubber's gone down the tracks as fast as it's going to be.
Yeah,
I think that's a much more subtle way of evening things out, actually.
Yeah, and it potentially could work. I mean, even with these, I think it probably wouldn't bring them that close, but once they bring in the new regulations in,
it would make the difference.
I think it would make the difference because, like you say, with standardised parts and things, it just brings that fairness back into the racing.
I think even if it just brings them closer, because the qualifying gap is sort of like between the top 3 and the rest of the field is quite often over a second.
Yeah.
It's so monumental. I don't honestly know how you can close that gap out.
Yeah, and a second in Formula 1 is a long time.
It is. It's huge. And I don't honestly see, speaking of trouble and speaking of a hole to try and dig themselves out of, Williams obviously round the season out with a solitary point.
Yeah, 10th in the Constructors' Championship with 1 point.
I don't know how they're going to get out of it. It's...
Yeah, because they don't have the money.
No.
Let's face it, probably some of the other engineers, the really good engineers, have been poached by potentially other teams. Or gone voluntarily because they think that Williams might go. What
Williams could really do with is a constructor coming in as their supplier, like BMW, for example. Someone with a lot of cash.
Used to be, didn't they?
We say someone with a lot of cash who wants to make big waves in Formula 1 and are willing to back Williams up. Because you've got to remember, as a brand, they're still, despite their recent wars, they are, historically speaking, a very successful brand. And they have an evocative name that it surprises me that more companies don't want to get behind Williams as a name. Because
I think the thing is, though, with Formula 1, a lot of people, as probably we do, don't see that long of a future in it. So why would you want to spend billions, potentially, on backing something that will either become Formula E?
Well, it's interesting.
Or merge.
Obviously, I've heard rumours that Renault are looking at leaving Formula 1 as a sort of a works team.
Yeah.
They've been struggling to... Obviously, they had a plan to try and get into the top 3. That hasn't happened. If anything, this season, they've gone backwards, not forwards.
Yeah. They're behind McLaren, who they're supplying engines too.
It's not a good look. When your supplier... the team you're supplying is doing better than you, it is not a good look.
No. And I do feel for Renault. I don't like Renault. I'm just going to say that. But I think it's a shame because they used to be another massive name in F1. They used to dominate, didn't they, sometimes?
Yeah. I mean, let's not forget as well, in history, they've had some fantastic cars. Alain Prost, obviously, won the championship in a Renault. Renault have had a major history. And let's not forget Fernando Alonso winning his double titles back-to-back in the mid-2000s as well. So Renault is a name that deserves to be in F1. If F1 lost Renault, particularly in its current situation, it'd be a huge blow.
Yes, it would, because they are a big name and they're an engine supplier as well. But I suppose they could keep doing the engine supplying because the research and R&D and stuff's already done.
It's really, really tough though, because I mean the trouble is if F1 lost them as a engine supplier, that would put them down to 3. And when you compare that to, let's say, Formula E's sort of supplier routes and the amount of manufacturers that are in there now, you can tell that there is a bit of a gap opening up now where you look at Porsche and Audi, for example. They've obviously chosen not to pursue Formula 1. They've chosen to pursue Formula E. The trouble is, I think it's the cost of getting into F1 and the risk.
Well, that's what you say. Like, if Formula 1 doesn't have that long left, potentially, I don't know, 10 years, give it.
Depends whether manufacturers think it's a good look as well these days. Obviously, in the 2021 regs and in the regs, obviously F1 has committed to trying to become carbon neutral by 2030. They're also looking at burning more biofuels as well to try and carbon offset what they're doing. But I think it comes down to the brutal fact of the days of internal combustion are numbered.
They are. And that's something that they can't hide from. We can't hide from as consumers. So why would a manufacturer pump billions... Well, it is billions in some cases into developing these engines that realistically have no real world purpose.
Well, you think of direct descendants of these Formula 1 engines and which road cars, direct descendants, they've actually worked their way into. I can think of the AMG 1.
And that's not even...
that's not even out yet.
And that's because it's been so difficult to get these engines
to get it to work, exactly. So...
I don't know. That's the thing. The one thing I hope that they might do for Formula 1 is because when obviously most of the cars on the road are either hydrogen or electric or whatever may be, that obviously the demand for oil will be nigh on nil. It just goes into random other things you're producing. So they might just basically have this as a motorsport, because let's face it, on the whole, the pollutants from Formula One aren't going to make any difference to the planet.
No, I mean, as also as well is obviously they're committing to trying to become carbon neutral, which is great, and all the rest of it. But quite a lot of people have quite reasonably stated on a lot of Formula One's posts that, say for example, if they're pursuing biofuels and trying to make the cars more efficient, they've obviously said, well, the amount of emissions you guys produce moving from race to race is astronomical. So why are you even bothering trying to make your cars more sustainable? I actually disagree with that.
Yeah, because like I said, if they're becoming carbon neutral, they can do all sorts of other things. They don't just have... Because even trucks are going to become hydrogen or electric at some point, and planes probably.
But I also think Formula One has always been the pinnacle of what a car can do. It's pushing car technology to its limits. F1 can continue to do that with the new world. I think there is a place for it. I just think that hopefully 2021 will secure that.
Yeah, but to be fair, I don't see... Formula One as a brand, I don't think will die. I think it will just become Formula 1E, and then Formula 2E, or H if it goes hydrogen or whatever.
I think it's interesting. On a lot of the posts, you also hear people sort of talking about, why don't they just stick a dirty great V12 in it? And I don't think those people quite grasp what F1 is up against. Sure, they could drop a massive V12 in the back, and sure, you'd please the crowd, the group of people that are currently fans potentially.
I mean, I would love that, to be fair.
It's great. Don't get me wrong. I love a V10. I love a V12 as much as the next guy. But I'm also aware that F1 won't survive if they do that. It'll be a very short-lived renaissance, because all those fans will... they're not going to be around forever, and younger fans want to follow something that they can relate to, and they can't relate to these massive V10s and V12s because the cars they're going to be buying won't have them.
No, yeah, like Ferrari is stopping, pretty much going to be doing it after the next car. Lamborghini is stopping after the next car.
You think of a 15-year-old now who's looking to get into motorsport, they can look at potentially maybe 5 years down the line, they'll be looking at Formula E and thinking, great, I can buy my hot hatch with an electric motor that drives a bit similar to the Formula E cars. Yeah. You see what I mean? It's trying to, at the end of the day, a lot of these companies are in F1 to help them sell cars.
Yeah.
You're not going to do that if it's not to do with your car anymore.
No, and I think this is where, not Ferrari might struggle, but the other brands as such, like Mercedes, obviously they sell normal cars.
Yeah.
As do a lot of them. Ferrari don't.
No, and neither do McLaren either.
No, they don't. I'll give you that. They don't either. Obviously Renault do, and Honda do. They all make other things. Whereas, obviously, like you say, your McLarens and your Ferraris, they are living on race heritage.
Yeah. Or you'll find that I think that McLaren and Ferrari and even Williams to a certain extent will hold out on F1 for longer than other people because, as you said, they live and breathe on race heritage.
Yeah. I think Ferrari will be the last one.
Yeah, I mean, if Merck dropped out of F1 tomorrow, they wouldn't struggle selling cars. That's just a fact. No, whereas if Ferrari dropped out of F1 tomorrow, well, that's other than some GT3 cars in Le Mans, they don't do it. They're not in Formula E. They're not in any other, at the pinnacle of any other huge race.
Do they do Formula 2, 3, anything like that?
They sponsor certain ones. Yeah. But the point is, if they dropped out of F1, I think it would genuinely have a direct impact on the cars they sell.
Yeah. Because let's face it, their road cars aren't on par with many of their rivals anymore. So the only thing they've got going is people thinking, right, I'm going to go and buy this Ferrari because of like the history and
McLaren would struggle.
Yeah, I think they will.
Yeah, McLaren would struggle.
It's not like they have their own. They don't have their own. They've got a lot of problems as it is at the moment. So if you take away this, then what can they have?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, I agree. But I think I do see it dying in about 10 years. Not dying as in dying. I think as
the way we know it.
Yeah, I think it'll be 10 years.
Hopefully, 2021 will introduce. Obviously, according to these regs, it'll improve the racing, and that is part of it. But I also think, obviously, it looks like in 2021 they're sticking with the V6 hybrid units, which is a short stop, that's fine. But at some point, they're going to have to change.
Yeah, do a 4-cylinder or do a hybrid. Or
they're going to either have to downsize again to be relevant with road cars again, potentially on a hybrid system. Obviously they're running hybrid systems at the moment, but how often, you're looking at more a 1 litre 3-pot hybrid system if you're looking at road cars knocking about these days.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think they will eventually, but will it be too late?
Exactly. Or or is it more worthwhile them going, right, we're going to take a huge random swing and we're going to go for hydrogen?
Yeah.
Take a risk, maybe,
The thing is, though, that sometimes it favours the bold.
Exactly, yeah. Maybe that's exactly what hydrogen needs. So we'll see.
We'll see. All right then. Well, that's a good thing. I genuinely do think 2019, on the whole, a lot better than 2018.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
More exciting racing. I hope we can see more coming up in 2020.
Yeah.
And I hope some of the lower teams, i.e. McLaren, can maybe sort of inch that bit closer to sort of Red Bull.
I'm hoping
maybe go for a few podiums.
I'm hoping that Formula 1.5 isn't as severe, especially from 2021 onwards. I'm hoping that there is a nice, more even spread of points, and as you say, potential for those midfield teams to nab themselves a podium every now and then.
Yeah. To be fair, I honestly think I really am hoping that they all just come up and they are very, very even from the day one. I don't want to see sort of like
any dominance.
Any dominance. Like, just Mercedes just rocking up on day one of 2021 and going, right, guys, we've won.
I don't want to see anyone just rocking up and taking it like that.
No, I want the win to be close. I want it to be hard fought win.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that entirely. So here's hoping.
So that's how it. Obviously, let us know what you want to see in F1 coming up in the future. It'd be great to know your guys' opinion on how you think 2019 went. And then if you do want us to discuss anything else about the 2021 regs or anything like that, just let us know in the comments. And as Rob mentioned earlier, if you do want us to discuss any more of our sort of favourite driving films or anything like that, or racing films, hit us up in the comments and we will do that for you.
Yeah.
But otherwise, we'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you next week.
See you later. Bye-bye.